everyone, and welcome to a cloudy, windy day here in Cape Town. It's my last full day here in South Africa, and we're going to continue exploring Cape Town's diverse communities and diverse neighborhoods today. I'm starting my day off with this gorgeous view behind me. You have the mountains, you have the clouds, which if it weren't cloudy, you'd be able to see even more mountains, and the dramatic view as the mountains descend into the beach. We're starting our morning here in an area known as Camps Bay. This is a very affluent area of Cape Town. You've got gorgeous residences lining the beach right in front of me. Really posh cafes, restaurants, hotels down by the beach behind me. And of course, you've got this magnificent view. However, you only need to travel a couple of minutes by road and the situation completely changes. And this video seeks to investigate exactly why and how that has come to be, given the history here in South Africa. I'm going to be starting my day off here in Camps Bay, but we're soon going to travel maybe 30 minutes away from here to one of South Africa's townships. I'm going to tell you exactly what a township is. We're going to meet people there. We're going to learn about the social engineering which took place, resulting in some of South Africa's super rich living right next to some of the super poor. For the purposes of this narrative, I'm going to share some footage from yesterday evening when I visited the District 6 Museum in downtown Cape Town. District 6 was a municipal district of downtown Cape Town, founded in the mid-1800s, and through the mid-1900s it became a blossoming neighborhood full of diversity, full of merchants, full of artisans, full of laborers, immigrants, freed slaves. Everybody lived there, worked there, and thrived there as part of a joint community. However, in the 1940s, when the apartheid government took control over South Africa, all these virtues were undesirable. It was a mixed neighborhood, and so it was something that needed to be disbanded, discarded, and destroyed. And that's exactly what they did. In 1966, the area, which was previously known as District 6, became a whites-only area, and by the mid-1980s, the entire area was destroyed, homes were razed, and over 60,000 people were displaced from the neighborhood. Moreover, these residents were not only displaced, they were forcibly removed. And this forced removal didn't only happen here in District 6. There were numerous neighborhoods which were impacted by the Group Areas Act of 1950, which designated certain areas to be white-only areas and other areas to be areas designated for other racial groups. Under this act, this very arbitrary act, yet very pointedly intentional act by the apartheid government, the black and other racial groups who were present in District 6 were forced to move to townships outside of the city. And that's generally the model which took place in South Africa under the apartheid regime. The cities and towns would be reserved as whites only, and that's where there would be business, that's where there would be opportunities for work, that's where the wealth would be concentrated. And then outside of every city, you would have a range of townships which were classified by race and by occupation based on which sorts of labor were necessary for the white residents living in the city. If you had a mining city, which required a lot of manual labor, mostly performed by men, then you would have an act passed designating the townships outside of that city to host many male-only dorms so that labor could be settled there and then enter the city to work and then go back home to the townships where they live. In theory, it's a very simple practice. You have capital, white capital, living in the city. You have labor living outside of the city, and they're mostly the racial majority, but I guess other racial classifications. And you have labor, which is mostly the brown and black folks living in the townships outside of the city, ready to enter the city just for work. And there was a very complex system of permits which brown and black folks required in order to be able to enter the city to work. Without these permits, the apartheid regime ensured that whites would remain in whites-only areas and brown and black people would remain in their own neighborhoods with no other mixing other than for an exchange in labor. It's this history which only really legally ended, de jure ended, in the mid-1990s That same system has impacted the geography and social landscape and social fabric of South Africa today. I haven't been here long, but it's hard to ignore. These policies create heavily white concentrated wealthy areas which are surrounded by much smaller brown and black areas who only exist in this fashion in order to provide labor to the white only neighborhoods. I've reached out to some social development leaders in such a township outside of the city of Hout Bay. Hout Bay is just along the coast from downtown Cape Town. You drive about an hour, you're in Hout Bay, and then from Hout Bay there's right outside of that is a very small township. It has a native African name, and its residents are going to be almost 100% black, and it was designed that way to provide labor for the main city bearing the European name Hout Bay. But for now, I'm going to go walk around the beach, find some other spots to check out here. I have about another hour left before I need to grab a taxi to head south to Hout Bay. Additionally, the white apartheid government tried to pit racial groups against one another in hopes that they would be distracted from the fact that it was actually the white South Africans who were executing on this racial unjust policy. For example, if there was discontent amongst one group as to their work opportunities in the city, they might actually give preferential treatment to another group, hoping that those two groups would no longer coalesce over their joined experiences of injustice by the white South Africans and instead try to compete with each other as to who could actually gain more opportunities and privilege in society. In essence, this strategy kept the racial groups from uniting to form a solid front against the injustices committed by white South Africans. Each racial group would then be vying for preferential treatment by the white South Africans. It would be the Indians thinking that they're better than the blacks. It would be the colored people thinking they're better than the blacks. It would be the white people thinking they're better than everyone. It was the quintessential divide and conquer strategy in which everybody was just trying not to be at the bottom of the totem pole. For the apartheid regime, this was actually a very smart strategy. Each racial group tried to ensure that they would never find themselves at the bottom of the racial hierarchy, while at the same time propping up those at the top, the white South Africans.